I'd like to acknowledge that this event is being hosted by the University of Northern British Columbia, which is situated on the unceded territory of the Lheidli T'enneh. But I also want to acknowledge that I, as the MC, am situated on Dakelth territory of the Lheidli T'enneh and the Nazca Nation, because I actually live outside of Quesnel. So I wanted to make sure that I recognize these folks as well. And for all of you who are situated in different geographic places, you think about where, which nations you are recognizing silently or not so silently while you're muted. I'd like to give thanks to all of our sponsors and partners for helping make this festival happen. We've received financial support as well as organizing and community support from a variety of partners, including the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada, the University of Northern British Columbia, of course, including the English department there, the First Nations Studies Department, and the Health Arts Research Center. School District 57 has also been involved, as well as the Prince George Public Library and the Prince George Native Friendship Center, and of course, the community elders. Two Rivers Gallery has also participated in helping with this event, and the Carney Hill Neighborhood Center Society. And I would like to thank each and every one of them for making this festival sampler and later the festival in its entirety possible. We're going to begin today's event with an acknowledgement of the youth who entered the Hear Our Words storytelling competition back at the end of 2019 in preparation for the 2020 celebration, which of course was put on hold due to COVID. Then we'll hear from a panel of storytellers who represent a variety of storytelling mediums, and there'll be some time, hopefully, for questions and answers as well. So I think at this point, we could probably start with the slideshow recognizing some of our youth. We'll just wait. I think we're going to have a screen share here. Okay, there we go. So these storytellers are being recognized for the stories they submitted for the 2020 Hear Our Words storytelling competition. And the entries reflect the diversity of their storytelling styles, including short stories, poetry, music, and art. After this event is, the virtual event is completed, all of their work will be showcased on our website, the weavingwords.org website, so that you can have a closer look at it. And next slide, please. So I am going to call out the names of the youth that we are acknowledging here. First up is Alyssa Abraham. And I think the next slide, and I cannot quite read that, but this is the short story that will be available to you on the website. So we'll move along to the next slide, please. We're also recognizing Sonia Erickson.
Blanca, I'm just going to push pause there for a moment. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Kathy, are you able to, on the top of the PowerPoint, there's a tab button that says slideshow. If you click on that, it should give you the ability to actually turn the slideshow feature on, so the screen, the slides are a bit bigger.
I'm trying. The Zoom thing with the video and the mute and everything is hiding it, so I'm having an issue getting there. Oh, sorry. Slideshow. Oh, sorry, Marianne. What am I looking for?
The very first option says from beginning. That'll do it.
Oh.
There we go. Now I can read
bigger.
this a little more easily. I was having some challenges reading this. Good.
Sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
Live and learn. People live and learn. So do you want me to?
Let's just go to the next slide and I'll repeat them. We have Alyssa Abraham, and she created a story for this festival. And now we can move on to the next slide. The story is there. I will not read that, so we can move on. And the next person I would like to recognize is Sonia Erickson. And I believe there's a piece of artwork that Sonia has provided. That's really beautiful. Again, I really encourage you to look at the website after this. We can move on to the next slide, please. And I hope I'm going to pronounce this name correctly. I'd like to recognize Kaylin Joseph.
Can you see okay? Yeah, I'm seeing it.
And we can move to the next slide. And Dean McDonald. Next slide, please. Peyton Potskin. Next slide, please. And Peyton has provided an image that will be up on the website. Next slide, please. We'd also like to recognize Daisy Shifley. Next slide. Daisy's clearly written a poetry and prose piece. Next slide, please. Brent White. Next slide. There are short prose pieces provided by Brent. I'm really hoping I'll have a chance to look at all of these later. Next slide, please. Tamara White. Next slide. And Tamara has also written prose pieces. Next slide, please. And yes, I'd like to thank on behalf of the Weaving Words Committee to all of the young storytellers who submitted to this festival in 2020. And now we are going to move on to the 2020 Hear Our Words Storytelling Showcase. And at this point, we are going to have several speakers who are going to talk briefly about their modes of storytelling. There are going to be some questions and answers at the end. However, our first speaker, Richard Van Camp, needs to leave this event early. And so I would like to suggest that we do have a short question and answers session after he speaks. And then when we introduce the other speakers, we will wait until the end for the final talks. So I would also like to recognize how we've organized this particular sampler here. We put out a call for submissions for the Weaving Words Storytelling Competition in 2019. And now we've been faced with incorporating both 2019 or 2020, 2021, and 2022 into today's festival. So I think we will have Richard Van Camp take it away. He would like to introduce himself. And so, yeah, we'll let him do that.
Yay, Blanca, can you hear me okay? Kym Gouchie, can you hear me okay? Kathy Shaw, can you hear me okay? Yes? Well, Masi Cho, everybody, Dante, Sagya Masi, my friends. It's so good to see you all. I'm in Treaty 6 country, Edmonton, Alberta, and we're in a little bit of a blizzard. So as soon as we're done, I have to go and shovel, work my little math arms. Hey, these little arms are only good for doing math and taxes. But I'm working on my guns, I'm working on my guns. So I wanted to introduce myself properly, say congratulations to the youth and to the organizers of this wonderful event. Masi Cho to the organizers and the sponsors and the volunteers. We're so grateful to you, and of course the other storytellers. Masi Cho, thank you very much. So what I wanted to do today was I wanted to honor you all with a little story. So I'm from Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. I'm 50 years old. I was born September 8, 1971. And where I'm from, we are the nickname capital of Canada. We're the hickey capital of Canada. We can two-step to anything. We're awesome. We're humble enough to be awesome and awesome enough to be humble. And I wanted to just, I know some of you have been wondering, like, how do people get nicknames? Where do nicknames come from? How do you get one? And I sat down one day and I wrote down some of the nicknames I grew up with. So just give you an idea. Give you an idea, Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. So Fort Smith NWT, we're population 2,500. We're on the 60th parallel. We're the gateway to Wood Buffalo National Park. We're just nestled perfectly against the Slave River. We've got whooping cranes and sandhill cranes and pelicans from the Gulf of Mexico come up because they love our losh and Arctic lamprey and whitefish. We're the third best place in the world to see the Northern Lights. And we say that because if you say you're third, no one ever questions you. No one ever questions you. Just say, I'm the third best at fill in the blank. And people are like, oh, pleasure to meet you. So I sat down one day and I said, let's just make a list of everyone I grew up with. Okay. So here are some of the names that I grew up with in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. Duck Soup, Wolfman, Dudes, Georgie Porgy, Tsitsi, Big Man, Larry Boy, Pie Face, Wiener, Beefcake, Scrooty, Ogre, Bart, John Guy, Mav, Ice, Goose, yes, from Top Gun, yeah. Garbage, Blue Eyes, Stinky, Gooch, Ivinsky, Android, A-Rod, Scooby, Freddie Boom Boom, Rubber Man, Trapper, Smokey, Peanuts, Squeak, Pinto, Pistol, Eyebrows, Tuck Tuck. You know why they call him Tuck Tuck? Because he doesn't pass when you're playing hockey all year. It's Tuck Tuck, Tuck Tuck, all the way down the ice. Hey, he thinks he's Guy Lafleur. Okay, Tuck Tuck, Earl the Pearl, Junior, Chang, Slim, Iron Mike, Tony Toenails, Pie Kennedy, Bobby One Leg, Boogie and Baby Boogie, and I could go on and on. So that'll give you a little bit of the northern flavor of how I was forged, how I was born, how I was raised, was to really respect, you know, somebody's nickname. And often now when I call home, I don't actually know somebody's real birth name. I actually just only know how they're called and how I've been calling them for 50 years. So I wanted to tell you a little story about how somebody got their nickname. And this story is a story that was told to me by one of my elders. I know we're recording, so I'll keep that private, but this was told to me a long time ago. And I went over there to see my elder and to spend some time and to just really visit, you know, and that's the big curse of this pandemic, is it's really cost us some really beautiful visiting time. But it's good to see you all, and just seeing your faces and seeing your smiles, it just warms my heart. So I want to bring you a story from the Northwest Territories. So in the communities in the Northwest Territories, what we call Dene, land of the people, there is a story of this wonderful man, just a beautiful human being, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't party, doesn't gamble, doesn't fight, just a regular, honest to goodness, beautiful souled man. And he met this woman in one of the communities, and oh, everyone was so happy for them. And so they started going out, and man, he could cook and he could bake and he could jig, he could dance, hunt, trap, fish, big provider. Pretty soon her dad's freezer was just full of fish, and then the other freezer was full of caribou and moose meat, and the whole community was really excited for him, eh? And as this woman started to really embrace the full beauty of love, she started to realize that, you know, geez, this guy, he's the triple threat. Like, he's everything I've ever heard of when it comes to a good man, a good Dene man. But she started to find out that he had a really bad habit. And so the habit was this: he loved hockey, right? He just loved his hockey. He'd get NHL on. He was a bit of a screamer. So she never saw anything like it. He's so nice, everything's great until hockey was on. And he'd start raging and start yelling, and he would just get really hysterical about hockey. So finally she started to realize, I can't actually be in the house when he gets like that. I don't like that side of him, eh? And he wouldn't break anything, but he had a really bad habit. So what would happen was he would watch Hockey Night in Canada. He'd listen to Howie Meeker. He'd break out in a fierce sweat. And what would happen? He'd start to overheat, right? He'd get all worked up. He'd start yelling. And if they missed their shot, if his team missed his shot, he'd just get so upset. And so in the middle of the game, especially when it's like the breakaway and overtime and all this stuff, and it looks like his team was going to lose, he would take his moccasins and he'd throw them off. And he would take his socks and he would throw them off. And for some reason, maybe this is self-soothing, right? Some people got to knit, or some people got to sew, loom, or darn. What he would do is he'd grab his wife's toenail clipper and he'd grab his toes, his little pootagoos, and he'd start clipping his nails as he was watching. And it was just a way to calm himself down. I don't know what's going on, but he'd clip his toenails and his toenails would go, toenails would go in the aquarium, in the plants, on the linoleum, in the carpet. And what he would do is he'd take that little tiny blade out, that really fancy little blade. And what he'd do is he'd scoop out his toe jam and he'd smell it. And he'd do it and he'd calm down. He'd do that ever since he was a little kid, he would do this, eh? And then he'd take that little blade after you run it through his little toenails and he'd put it in his sideburns like that, so he could sniff it later. And so he would clip his toenails and he would watch the game and he'd walk around, and he'd start yelling and he'd start rocking, and he'd clip his toenails some more and he'd start smelling his toe jams, and you know what I mean? And so finally when she came home, he'd just be exhausted and there'd be toenails all over the place. His wife was really fancy. She worked for the feds, nothing but money and time. So she had these really fancy nylons and little Lululemon pants and all that. So she'd come home from spending time with her parents and she'd walk in, and sure enough, she'd take a little walk on the linoleum, and then one of those big, stinky, yellow, twisted toenails, probably from the big toe, would go, just hook her right through the flesh, eh? She'd go, oh, God, what is that? And she'd pull it out and be this big, stinky, yellow, twisted corkscrew of a toenail, eh? And she'd go, God, what is going on? And the goldfish would be laying sideways in the aquarium because they tried nibbling on one of them. There'd be toenails everywhere. So this happened first couple of months, and she told them, it's not respectful. I mean, you got to burn your toenails. You got to burn your hair. You've got to take care of yourself so that your enemies can't get them and have power over you. It's a very superstitious town. You got to be respectful. I don't be stepping on your toenails. I don't want to be looking around trying to figure out where that stink is coming from. And here it's one of your old crusty toenails underneath the side carpet here. I'm trying to eat. You know what I mean? You say, baby, I'm so sorry. Baby, baby, baby. Nietzsche moose, they're Cree, Nietzsche moose, I'm sorry, I could change, baby. I'm sorry, forgive me, babe. I love you, babe. Need you. You're my everything. You're my anchor, my lighthouse, babe. Please, right? Start talking baby talk to her to just evoke those maternal instincts, hey? So she say, okay, it's a last chance. That's enough now. It's pitiful when you think about it. Come on, smarten up, babe. Sorry, babe. And then 3 months, he was a good boy. Vacuum after, mop the floors, get the little duster in there, scoop up all remaining evidence of his little temper tantrums, eh? And then, of course, honeymoon's over and he's right back and he's screaming his head off and he's going like that. And he's clipping his toenails and toenails are flying. So finally, one day, enough is enough. Here she come home, brand new pair of nice nylons, and then hooked again. Had to go to the health center and get a tetanus shot so he didn't get lockjaw. She said, all right, if you do this one more time, I swear to God, I'm going to teach you a lesson you're never going to forget. Because Northern women, when they get mad, they get quiet. They only got to say it once. They're not going to tell you twice. It's once, right? Well, certainly, as we know, there's Hockey Night in Canada, then the playoffs come, right? So she warns them, I'm going to my parents for 3 hours. When I come home, I better see you just crash right out. And there better be a nice hot tub for me with some Epsom salts and some beautiful oils in there. This is my house too, right? I don't want to see any toenails. Yeah, babe, I swear, babe, swear, no toenails, babe. Have a good time with your folks. Give them a squeeze for me, right? So sure enough, right? Howie Meeker and Guy Lafleur and Wayne Gretzky and all those guys, there's breakaways. Starting to get worked up. He's starting to get worked up. There's a fierce sweat, right? His baby curls are coming back. His nipples are popping, right? He's getting worked up. He's in a froth. He's in a man froth. He can't handle it. So off come the moccasins, off come the socks, gets out that shiny little gold nail clipper. He starts clipping his toenails, right? He's got to swallow it. He's got to put some in the sideburns. Oh my goodness, the toe jam. I need it, babe. I need it. I need it, baby. Need it. God, it's so good. Oh my God, the breakaway, baby. We're gonna win. I can't believe it. 3 hours. It's like this. Finally, now his team, doesn't even matter if they won, doesn't matter if they lost. All she knows is When she came home, it was nice. The tub was just perfect. Okay, Epsom salts in there, beautiful oils. He just crashed out. He's spent, got nothing left. He's all played out, all played out. But what happens? Steps on one of his big, stinky, crooked, green and yellow toenails. Hooked her. So she's hopping around. She goes, that's it. That's it. Remember I told you, a Dene woman will only say it once. Dene woman gets mad, they get quiet, they get cunning and patient. And what she did is she walked all around the house, carpet, linoleum, aquarium, and the plants, and she scooped up all of his toenails. She put him in the freezer, and she had a bath. Then she woke him up, and then they went to bed. And all night she laid there, listened to him, breathed gently, came up with a plan. She's gonna fix him. Lesson he'd never forget. So next morning he wakes up, he's like, oh, babe, oh, what a great night. Oh, how's your folks? Sorry I crashed right out there, man. What a game, it's very emotional. How's your folks? Hey, sweetie, let me cook for you. I got eggs from Hay River. I got that bacon from Kaiser's. I got those, you name it, I got, hey, I can make you a smoothie. I got those fresh bananas. And then for lunch, I could bake you a lasagna from scratch. And then tonight, let's do turkey dinner with all the fixings, babes. I'm just gonna spoil you, babe. And then let me call you 10 times today and I'll sing to you on the phone. I'll text you 20 times, babe. I love you and need you, baby. You're my everything, babe. Right? And she's like, you know what, sweetie? How about for once I cook for you? And he's, no, babe, come on. You know I love to spoil you. You know you're my everything. She goes, no, babe. Why don't you go have a nice shower and sing me a love song? Sing me a beautiful day. Sing me the love song that your dad sang to your mom when he first saw her. And he goes, that's a good idea, baby. You know what? It's been too long since I sang you a love song. So he goes in the shower. He starts singing this beautiful love song, just soaping himself up, eating a nice big lather. So she starts cooking for him breakfast. Then she starts making his lunch because he works out in the highways, eh? And so she gets this nice piece of bread, mayo, mustard, gets some lettuce, just washes it, strains it, just presses the moisture out, gets those nice Roma tomatoes, nice cheese, three different kinds of cheese, eh? And then she goes into the freezer and she grabs all his toenails. She puts them right in the middle of that sandwich. Then she gets some bologna because they're quality and quality knows quality. They get another nice piece of bread, mayo and mustard and butter. And she just presses down like that on this big sandwich and the toenails that just poke right through. So she says, well, he'll see them. He'll get the message. So she gets saran wrap. It just looks like a big old football by the time she's done. Then she gets some tea. Then she gets some Laura Secord pudding and some nice crackers and little cheese and, you know, little thing of soup. And it spoils her, man, big thermos of coffee. And he comes out and he's just ready for the day. He's like, baby, want me to quit my job and just follow you around and just look at you all day? Because I'll do it, babe. I'll do it. I love you, babe. I need you. God, you look so good today, babe. It's like, sweetheart, babe, I love you, but I got to go to work. And look, there's breakfast. And actually, I'm running a little late. And there's lunch. I want you to have a wonderful lunch. Enjoy your lunch today, baby. I love you, Nietzsche Moose. I love you. And I'll see you at 5 o'clock. You sure, babe? Okay, babe. Thank you, babe. He goes, oh, my boss is here. Shoot. So he eats really quick, grabs his lunch, hops in the truck, and they take off down the way. And they work on the highways all day. So this lady goes to the federal building in the community. And of course, they spend all day having coffee and using their Aeroplan points to book their next vacation. They use the company ink to print up full color calendars of their families and all their baby pictures. They're on ancestry.com all day. And when people call, like, how are you doing? Busy. Oh, so busy. Double click on Aeroplan points for this. And, oh, it's a farce. Anyways, so it hits her at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She goes, oh my God, those toenails were in there for about 8 hours. How long does it take human toenails to thaw? Oh my God, what if he chokes? What if my man chokes on his own? Oh my God. So she gets on there, calls the satellite phone, and then his boss, Reggie, answers. He's like, hello. And she goes, Reggie, It's Martha. Martha, hey, what's going on? Hey, we're really busy here. What's going on? She goes, listen, tell my man not to eat that sandwich. If he hasn't eaten the sandwich I packed for him, northern store called, there's E. coli or something in there, tapeworms, ringworms or something. Just tell him, just burn it. Just throw it away. Don't even let a dog eat it. And he goes, you sure? Yeah, okay, I'll do it. I see him. I'll go tell him. I won't forget, I promise. What do you think happened? He forgot. Anyway, so all afternoon, she gets home and she's, trying to cook and she's looking out the window and she's making bannock, right? And she's just making like shepherd's pie from scratch. And oh God, I hope he's not dead. God, he's choking on his own toenails. Oh my God, please, 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 please. I love this man. I need him. He's my everything. Baby, I need him. I want to have a baby with him. Oh. So 6 o'clock, these lights come down the driveway and she's like, oh, she just runs out of the house. Please God be alive. Please God be alive. And sure enough, her man comes out. She just tackles him, eh? Baby, baby, baby. Nietzsche moose, Nietzsche moose. He's like, well, hello to you too, baby. This is great. Big kiss attack in the driveway. And she goes, come in the house. And she goes, thank you very much, Reggie. Thanks for driving my man home. He goes, well, you guys have a great night. She goes, well, we will. So they go in the house and she's like, oh God, it's so good to see you. I missed you so much, baby. Oh my goodness. I was so worried about you. He goes, why, babe? We're federal, we're provincial, territorial. We can practice everything, there's no workers' comps. You got to be careful. She said, no, seriously, I missed you. Look, I cooked all your favorite food. I love you so much, baby. Go wash your hands and you tell me everything about your day. Don't leave anything out. He goes, oh, okay, baby, sure. So he's washing his hands and he's like, oh, this is going to be such a beautiful night. Oh, it smells so good in here. And he goes, but babe, I should be cooking for you. And she goes, no. Every once in a while, you got to let me cook. He goes, oh, babe, you're the best. I just love you so much, baby. He's like, you want to make a baby tonight? And she goes, yeah, let's make a baby tonight. He goes, okay, babe. So things are going really good. And she goes, listen, before we eat, I just got to ask you one question. He goes, sure, babe, what, anything. And she goes, so I made you a sandwich. And he goes, oh, yeah. And she goes, so how was it? And he goes, babe, don't get mad. Okay. You know how you get when you make me something. I love everything that you make for me. But the truth is, I was just so full from breakfast that I gave that sandwich to my best friend, Tony. So his best friend ate his sandwich and his toenails. And he later said he thought it was Ripple chips. He ate his best friend's sandwich filled with his twisted, stinky green and yellow toenails. So people want to know, how do you get a nickname? I'm here to tell you, there's a gentleman in the Northwest Territories who we lovingly call Tony Toenails. And that is a true story. That's a working man's PhD right there. Biblical truth. Masi Cho for listening. Thank you so much. Bless you all. Bless your families. God, I wish I was there to see you and give you all a big hug. Masi Cho, thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I'm actually rather happy that this is virtual at the moment. As I saw you taking your socks off, I think this might be a good thing. So we do have a few minutes here for folks that might have some questions, a short question and answer period. And I don't know, Marianne, are you unmuting folks' mics if they're speaking as opposed to putting something in the chat?
I think if they've got a question, they can put it in the chat. If they need to be unmuted, they can say so in the chat, and then I can do that.
Okay, all right.
It's okay if there are no questions because my boy is trying to start a fire in our front yard. It's okay. And I want to hear Rhonda. I want to hear Kym. I want to hear everybody for as long as I can, but I'm not kidding. My little boy is starting a fire in the front yard. It's a Pro D day. I'm just going to have a little peek, okay?
Okay, thank you, Richard. Okay, before we move on to our next speaker, I just want to say that I did forget a couple of things that I should have stated when we were acknowledging our youth presenters. In addition to congratulating them, I wanted to remind you all that the festival organizers will be in touch so that folks can pick up their prizes. And in addition to that, the Hear Our Words is also a storytelling showcase, and the story submissions and artworks will be at the Prince George Public Library for the month of June.
Sorry, Blanca, just to clarify, the storytellers we saw acknowledged today are from 2020, and their works will be made available on the website following the festival next week, as well as they'll be receiving their prize bags in next week or two. It's for the 2022 Hear Our Words storytelling competition, which is now open. That will be the showcase, and that one will be showcased at the public library for the month of June.
Ah, okay. So you see, I thought I was rectifying something and I just created some more confusion, which is, I think rather typical. So at this point in time, we will move on to our next speaker, Rhonda McIsaac, and she has also requested that she would like to introduce herself. So there we go. Go for it, Rhonda.
Bonjour. Wewish gish gokindeshnikas, adiknando dem, sagin donjiba, skidagit haidagwai donjiba. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rhonda McIsaac, and I come to you as with a lot of respect for the territory that I'm in as a guest, and I am currently in Skidegit, Haida Gwaii, and the traditional territory of the Haida Nation and the Haida people. And I'm Anishnaube, and I am a communicator, a storyteller, a writer, and I think that, I don't know, I just feel like I've been doing, for me, I feel like I've been doing my dream. I've been living my dream. I've been dreaming about my dream. I've been following my dreams, and it led me here to this place. And Skidegit Haida Gwaii has become my center, my place of safety, my harbor, and I'm very happy to be here on this traditional territory today, sharing with you, honoring our elders. And I think that in doing that today, I found myself thinking a lot about the past. And I think that that's where a lot of my stories come from. That's where a lot of my poetry comes from. That's where my inspiration comes from. And it is for my grandmothers and my grandfathers, my cousins, my mother, my father, that I get to do this work. That I get to tell wonderful stories, share them. I get to dream about them. And I think that the education that I've gotten over the years across Canada has really fed my imagination, my spirit. I've got to listen to some really fabulous elders, some fabulous writers, and it all feeds and fills my heart, and it makes me a better writer, and it makes me a lot stronger to be able to share that with other people as well. And it's my honor today to share with youth, especially, an unconventional, different way of approaching storytelling and writing, all through education. I'm a huge believer in education, and education can come from your grandparents, can come from your parents, your brothers and your sisters, your aunties and your uncles. And it can also come from your professors, and especially the other students around you. I know that in the last couple of weeks, I've been looking at my past, and I have to tell you, it's been a heart-wrenching journey. It has been hard. I've cried. I've searched my spirit for some, more guidance and more grounding, because there are a lot of things in my past that I didn't allow myself to feel for the longest time. I refused to look at them. I would write around them, but I would never openly share them either with other people, because I was afraid. I didn't want to share that part of me because it was too personal, or it was too hard for me to actually look at myself and look at my history and look at my family. But then realizing that all of those things, all of those experiences, they all fed this spirit, this body, this mouth, these ears and these eyes and these hands. And I could go to my keyboard and just start writing, or I could pick up my pen and just start writing. And that's what I did. That's what I had started to do when I first started learning English. And I have to tell you, when I first started learning English, I was in day school. And day school was really hard. Day school was not always fun. And I didn't realize that it was day school. I thought that I was just going to school. I thought that everybody went through this experience. And the dark days in day school, well, as my dad told me about residential school, them were dark, dark days. And I had some dark days in day school. I was standing at the board often, and I was writing cursive handwriting. And I have to tell you, I have some really nice handwriting. And I'll show you just a little bit. So, all writers, we all start off in our little books. And I have a collection. They are, of course, in the deepest, dark corner of my bookshelves, where you really have to get on your hands and knees to really get in there and to be able to read some of my younger writing, and that's what I ended up doing this week. So going down memory lane was really challenging, and I think that a lot of writers sort of, you always start off that way. So, there's things in here. Oh, I like that, kind of blurs it out, but there are things in here that, back in, I don't know, this one was 1991, right? So I was maybe, I don't even know how old I was, but I found a letter that I wrote to my mother, and I was 19 years old. And there was so much shame, there was so much blame, and there was so much anger. And I can't believe that I kept it. I'm 48 years old. I'm almost as old as Richard. And I was like, wow, I kept that. And I looked at it, and it made me a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not sure if I sent maybe a version to my mother, and I totally apologize to my mom, because none of that was hers. None of that, none of those issues that I was writing about were hers. They were placed on her because she was a residential school survivor, and she's still surviving, and she's still such a inspiration to me. So inspiration comes from my family. It comes from the stories that they tell, and the stories that they don't tell, because you know what? A lot of our elders, a lot of our aunties, and a lot of our uncles don't tell those stories. And then fast forward to to when you're in high school and you start writing. You start taking English literature classes, you start taking art classes, and then you slowly discover that you have a voice, and that this voice comes from all of those deep and dark secret places that you hide, that you shield away from other people. And then finally, you're sitting in class and your teacher asks you to write about something that's important to you, or just gives you a prompt on something to write about. And so then you start writing, and all of a sudden you get into this flow. Richard Wagamese used to call it the river. You step into this river, and all of a sudden everything starts coming back. Everything starts flowing through you. And then in your hands, through that pen onto that paper, everything starts coming out. And that stuff is gold. Mine it. Look at it. Feel it. Get yourself in there. And you never know, you could turn it into a song. You can turn it into an art piece. You can turn it into anything that you want to turn it into. And what I ended up doing was I decided, and I have to tell you, when people talk about those vision boards in high school or in school, I have to tell you, I was surprised by myself, but here I am. I put it all in this book, and this is annoying. In this book, that it apparently is keeping secrets, but it's journalism. And then writers and editors. Writers take notes. This was from Teen Generation, March 1989. March 1989. I was thinking about where I wanted to go, who I wanted to be. Can you think about that? Have you done that? Have you always known deep, somewhere inside of you that you wanted to be a writer, that you wanted to write everything down, tell the most fabulous stories? God, be on a panel with Kym Gouchie and Richard Van Camp. Never in my life did I think that would ever happen. But oh my gosh, it's happening today. It's happening right now. And I'm so lucky, so lucky. So some of the things that I started writing out: poetry. I mean, gosh, ever sappy love poetry. My first boyfriend, I don't know where he is now, but bless his heart, bless his spirit, bless his soul, bless his children. Because there are some poems here about that poor little boy and what I did to him. Broke his heart. And really kind of broke mine too. And then I found photos. I found photos that I took, that I developed. I developed photos in high school. This was like a passion. I loved it. And then I decided that I was going to go to college. In my family, I think I was like one of the first in my biological family to go to college. I didn't finish the program because I decided that I was going to start a family. Creator decided really that I was going to start a family. And so then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, let's, I started writing things, kept journals and everything. And then I decided that I was going to go to school again after raising my family. And do you know what? It took me 13 years to get a BA. 13 years. I went part-time. And I started writing, kept on, doing all of the courses that I needed to do. I was taught by Rhonda McIsaac, and she's passed on to the spirit world now. And she was fabulous. She was amazing. She supported me. She believed me. She loved me. And one of the last times that I saw her, I was at UNBC and she was there coming to UNBC and doing a presentation. And she was walking down the hallway, and I could hear her laughter, I could hear her voice, and I was like, no way, this cannot be my mentor walking down the university hallway. And I ran, and I couldn't believe it. There she was, big statuesque German lady, and I'm like, Renata, it's me, Rhonda. And she's like, oh, Rhonda, of course you're here. She took me in a great big hug. And then I was like, yeah, of course I'm here. And I got to tell her that I was doing my master's, that I was like actually doing it. And she was like, of course you are. I told you when you were in my literary class at Lakehead that this is what you would be doing. Go for it, keep going. And then next thing I know, I'm doing it. I'm just doing the work. So all to say, like, in terms of progressing, in terms of moving forward with your education, with your love of writing, with your love of Indigenous literature, with your love of English literature, whatever you're doing, science, math, gosh, I could drop out, I dropped out of science and math grade 10 as soon as I could. But, my essay that I wrote when I was an undergrad is in a book. And, and that's really cool. That's so cool, because who would have, I never thought that would ever happen, but here it is in paper, in writing. And of course it was by one of my favorite professors, Dr. Tagore, Proma Tagore. I'm not sure if she's teaching anymore, but she was doing it. And so then, my essay, it was, I don't know, God, it was so awesome, because I got to write and I got to use my Anishnaube language. And so my whole title is all in Anishnaube. And it's just talking about, my life, poetry, place, what is important to me. And it just, I don't know, just all the things that education has brought to me have been immense, have been just beautiful, beautiful teachings. I got to work for I got to work for the federal government. I got to work for provincial agencies. I got to work for the friendship centers across Canada. And one of the last, my favorite job, my dream job, was I was a community writer for the Council of the Haida Nation. And again, I was printed in a magazine that people can see, that people read. My photos were used. I wrote the captions, suggested the titles, everything. All of it was important. And the work that I've done, it matters. It makes a difference. People read it, they love it, they get educated, they learn all of those things. My latest love, though, has been creating artwork. I love creating artwork. I've, just love it. But then I also create poetry. I also write at the back end. Usually I include a piece of poetry that I've written. And this one, I want to just end off. And it just, I entered it for the All Island Art Show, which is again coming up, and I'm going to submit another piece of art and a written piece as well. But this one, I just wanted to read to you. It's called Becoming a Whole Woman. The land, water, skies, and the 7 teachings, narrative medicine and acrylic paint, statistics handwritten, messages of action in permanent marker, COVID-19 images buried beneath the layers of paint, incidents of violence against Indigenous women held within the 4 walls, within their families, in their communities, daily experiences, an Indigenous woman in a red dress. A vision of healing, S-T-A-N-D-I-N-G. Standing, standing in power, guided by sacred teachings, connected to the earth and water. The statistics will not define us. We are whole women. And I think that all of the work that I've written, all the times that I've spoken, all of the times that I have shared what I love to do, and it all comes from everything that's I've seen, everything that I've heard, everything that I've felt, and everything that I've stored in my mind. It all comes out in one way or another. And I just really want to encourage everybody to continue doing that, to continue sharing your voice, because it matters. It makes a difference. You know, when you're 14, and then when you're 50 and you're looking back, you can see how far you've come, what a journey you have been on, because you learned how to write, because you learned how to share, because you learned how to speak, and you learned how to sing, and you learned how to share everything and be vulnerable. That is the most important thing that I want to leave you with. And I want to just thank my grandmothers. I want to thank my teachers. I want to thank my children for being my inspiration. And I want to thank my sisters and my cousins, because you're all important. You're all important, and you're all so lovely, and you're all so pretty and shiny. And just take care of yourself, take care of your spirits. And if anybody tells you that you're not trying to your full potential, you know different, you know better, because your voice matters, and everything that you're feeling, it's all gonna power you one day. So from Skidegate Haida Gwaii to wherever you are, I just want to say miigwech. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. And yeah, miigwech. Hi.
Thank you so much for that, Rhonda. That was truly inspirational. You've described such a powerful journey. And I have to say, when you were talking, it also took me down memory lane, because both Richard Wagamese and Renata Eigenbrod were good friends of mine and mentors as well. And yeah, it really made me think about them. I miss them a lot. We're going to save all of our questions for the end at this point. And so I would like to now invite Marcel Gagnon to speak, and he has expressed the desire to introduce himself as well. You all know who you are, clearly. So yes, please.
Thank you. I hope I speak loud enough. I've been having a bit of health issues here lately, but I want to say hello to everyone. My name is Marcel Gagnon. I am an elder from here in Prince George with the Lheidli T'enneh, and I guess I have the right to say welcome to our traditional territory if you're here. But I also want to thank Marianne and everybody else who always put so much work and so much energy into making this whole event happen. Thank you guys. And this beautiful gift I received from one of the students who had made this for me. And like you said earlier, they're all in school. So thank you, Daisy. It's absolutely beautiful. I treasure these things. When I was a little boy, storytelling was a really big part of my life. It was just after the war that I was born, so there was no TV and all of that stuff back then. It was always radio, mostly radio, and the stories that the family told as we sat around in the evening. oh my gosh, they were captivating to listen to those stories. And really the only radio station we had back then was CBC. I love CBC. Maybe it just was ingrained in me all these years, but boy, back then they would have these stories. Imagination would be there, and I would listen to these stories, and you know, all the sound effects in them. It was like you're watching a movie, but there was no visual. It was so real. And then I watched as we went through all this time of TV and movies, and guess what? We're back to where we started. And I think that's so beautiful to see so much interest in storytelling again. I'll just kind of tell you a quick little story here before I tell my main story. My two brothers were out hunting years ago, and they came back all excited, and they said, Marcel, you wouldn't believe what we found. And I went, what did you find? And they said, we found an old cabin. And I went, where? And they said, over there. And they said, we went into that old cabin. There was a really old radio in there. And I went, no way. And they said, we turned on that old radio, and guess what? I went, what? And they said, it was playing old music. I thought that was hilarious. And yeah, they pulled a good one on me at that time. So I'm going to just turn off the visuals so I can just speak. And hopefully the dog won't bark and nobody will knock on my door and my phone won't ring. It'll only add to the story anyhow. So here I go. I'll see you in a bit. I was told and came to believe a long time ago that everybody has a story. And one of the old people told me years ago, he said, Marcel, when you meet somebody, ask what their story is. Because we all have a personal story which gets added chapter by chapter throughout our lives. So I'm 72 years old now. I guess I have my story. It's my book. I may write it, publish it, or it may be my own personal book, but it's my story. So this one is a story I want to share with you. It's about a mountain, a vision, a man, ceremony, challenge, fear, hope, victory, mystery, and joy. Mystery, fear, and joy. And I recall when I first met Joe, I'll call him Joe. He was very polite. He was very kind. He was very quiet, about in his mid-40s. He was a guy of average height, but he had huge arms and a huge chest. He's the kind of guy that demanded respect just by his appearance only. I quickly saw the real him. I saw beneath that mountain of a man, and I saw inside a gentle, curious soul. And that's the person I wanted to know. It was about the time of our annual fast up on the mountain. The mountain is east of Prince George. And we hold, I haven't fasted there for a while now, but every year we would hold an annual fast up there, and men would come from all over Canada. Women would come from all over. And this young man, Joe, wanted to be a part of that fast. Getting the grounds and getting everything ready for fasting is a big job. But boy, I think there was maybe 10 people who fasted, and they were working really hard that day to get everything prepared, their hogans and everything. And you have to remember, when you're up there in the wild, you're in grizzly bear country. Your senses are totally alert. And these men are being very careful. It was only men that year, but they were being very careful where they built put their hogans so they could be close to someone else just in case something happened. So they spent that day rushing around because that evening we were going to do our going out sweat, they call it, where the guys go, we all go into the lodge and they have their final sweat, and then they're taken up to their hogans and they start preparing themselves. They each are encouraged to get a bowl, whether they carve it themselves or whether they just have one. But that bowl is very significant because for the next 4 days, you're not allowed to drink water or eat. Only if that bowl is set out and it rains, then we say, grandfather's smiling on you, he's caring for you, he's giving you a drink of water. So the men are all working really hard to get ready for 12 o'clock that night because that's when the fast begins. There's a lot of hustle and bustle. The sun didn't go down until 8:30 or something that evening. I think it was July, late July, no, August, mid-August maybe. So the days were getting shorter, and you could see night was beginning to fall up there. Joe was totally ready. He took his prayer ties, he put up his hogan, put his protection ties around his lodge. He came down the hill. At 12 o'clock at night from that point on, you're not allowed to speak to anyone. So he came down and he said, I guess I better do my talking now, eh? I said, yeah, I guess you better. So we just chatted for a while. I asked him, are you ready for this? And he said, yes, I am. I think it was around just before it got dark, the men filed to their little hogans. A little hogan is just 4 willows, maybe 6 willows that are bent over to form a little frame. Piece of plastic is put over it. Your blankets and whatnot are put inside so that if it rains, you're not going to get soaking wet. That's what a hogan is. And some ceremonies I've been to, they're all different, but this is how I ran mine. So the guys got all ready to go to their hogans for the night. It's 12 o'clock. They were officially in fast. The first night went good. I had 2 helpers staying with me down on the flat where the lodge and everything was. Young men that were really, really energetic and doing a lot of things to help me. And like I say, the first night went really, really good. Quiet, nobody made a sound. But I'm in the big tent with the other 2 boys and I'm listening and they're listening. I say to guys, if you hear anything, please let me know. Well, first night went good. I went and checked on the guys maybe around 11, 12 that night. Came back, went to sleep. First thing in the morning, I was the first one up. I went for a walk and checked on everybody. And we're all quiet. Nobody was allowed to speak. So if there is something going on, I tell them, just stand in front of your hogan and I'll come up to you and I'll ask you a question. I don't want you to speak to me. I just want you to nod your head yes or no. And there was nobody out there with anything. So I was quite relieved and happy for them. The second night, oh my gosh. The place where we fast is on the side of a mountain. There's a big, long, beautiful valley that runs down below. And when you stand at certain places on that mountain and sing or holler, you can hear the echo, 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 echo. It's beautiful. And you all know what it's like to go out and scream and holler and hear your echo. It's beautiful. And that's where Joe was. He had his little hogan perched on a little peak with a little fire beside it. It was about, I'm going to say 12, 1, maybe 2 in the morning. I can't remember, but all of a sudden I heard the drumming. It woke me up. I sat up on my little cot because the drumming was just incredible. I never knew this man could sing. I never knew this man could drum. I should have, because he's from Saskatchewan. But boy, oh boy, there's this, and I didn't realize it was him, but just pounding on that drum. And I don't know if you listen to Indigenous music very much, but you can hear in the song, if it's a sacred song, you can hear in the song, if it's a dancing song, a powwow song, you can hear in that song if it's ceremonial. That song that man was singing that night, I could hear the emotion in it. And I got a big lump in my throat when I sat up and I listened to that. I went, oh my gosh. The other two boys were sitting on their cots and they said, do you want us to go up with you there, Marcel? I said, no, guys, I'm going to go up alone. I took my flashlight and my smudge bowl and a little bottle of water in my pocket just in case. And I walked up there and he was standing on that little outcropping overlooking the valley. And oh my gosh, he was singing so hard. And I stood there. I never made a sound. His fire was almost out. And finally, I just tried to politely let him know I was there. I did a little cough, a little, not too loud, but he heard me. And he stopped drumming and he turned around, came towards me in the dark. And when he got to me, he looked at me and he said to me, I'm here in the mountains. I didn't really know what he meant. I said, Marcel, I'm here in the mountains. I said, yeah. I thought, okay, something's not right here. This doesn't sound right. So I kind of stepped back. I said, tell me, what do you mean, Joe? He said, when I was in Saskatchewan before I came here, I've never been to British Columbia in my life. As a little boy growing up, something scared me about the mountains and I could never figure out what it was. But something scared me and I was always afraid of the mountains. And look at me, Marcel. I'm in the mountains right now. Sorry about that. I just knew that phone would ring. I'm in the mountains right now, Marcel. So I said, tell me, Joe, why that? He told me, because I was afraid of it all my life. I don't know why. Maybe I heard stories of mountains when I was a little boy. I don't know. But I've always been afraid of it. He said, I got called by an elder last year. An elder that I knew about, but I had never met. And I was reluctant to go to him when I was told, go and visit this man. He wants to see you. I said, I don't want to. I'm not into that stuff. But he said, okay, I finally went. And when I walked into the room and met this old man sitting there, he looked at me and smiled and said, I'm glad you came. He said, I sat down and the old man said, why are you afraid of the mountains? And Joe looked at him and thought, okay, how do you know that I'm afraid of the mountains? He looks at the old man and he goes, who told you I was afraid of the mountains? The old man said to him, nobody told me. I had a dream about you and the mountains. And I just want to tell you right now that you're going to go to the mountains. And as he was standing telling me this story, I was so overwhelmed emotionally. I was kind of in a place of numbness, maybe, listening to this. But he said, I have to go and find that old man. I said, are you gonna be okay? He says, Marcel, the mountains are beautiful. I don't know why I was afraid of them. Look over here. I looked across the valley in the night. You could see the skyline way over in the distance. He said, look at how beautiful it is. Our fast ended. He left. He made his way back to Saskatchewan. But he always left me with one question that will probably stay with me forever. And that question to me is, how did that old man know? How did he know? I guess some people are gifted with things. The only thing that I can draw from this that brings me comfort is sometimes I like Richard's story about the toenails because it reminded me of something. I had a friend who had really bad foot odor, but he was the last one to know it. And every time he'd come to visit me and he'd go to take his shoes off, I'd go, no, leave that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes we don't see things in ourselves. And it's not wrong to be open-minded, even as a kid from your parents, to be open-minded, as an adult to an elder, as an elder to a youth, to be open-minded, to say, is there something here that you see in me that concerns you? Most people will be so beautiful in how they tell you. I just want to say, everybody, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this whole storytelling event. Marianne, it's wonderful what you're doing. I've got a lot of things that I have to do. And I don't know if my story touched anything in you. I don't know if that's what stories are supposed to do. I don't know if, because I'm 72 years old, if my stories have any meaning to people in the world today. All I know is it's my story, and I'm on this channel right now, and you have to listen to me. So there. Thank you, everybody. Now I'll turn my camera back on. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcel. I think your story had a lot of meaning, and I really liked the touch that you added of turning off the video, which sometimes distracts us from listening. And your last comment about the stories having meaning, or questioning whether the stories have meaning, made me think again also of what Richard Wagamese used to say, that the story is for the story's sake. And that was always something that he left me with, that I always think about when I listen to a story or read a story, the story for a story's sake. So that was lovely.
Thank you.
Our last speaker for the Hear Our Words event is Kym Gouchie, who I see in the video is tuning up her guitar. And Kym is a multidisciplinary artist, and she uses a variety of media to tell of stories, struggles, strengths of her ancestors, and she brings awareness and advocacy. She's a well-known figure in Northern BC, as well as throughout the world, both through her songs and her spoken words. Her passions are far-reaching, and she's very much a cultural ambassador for almost a dozen organizations province-wide, including the Canadian Artists for Reconciliation and Education, Everyone at the Table, BC Touring Council, the Prince George Folkfest Society, the Ancient Forest Working Group, and the BC Central Railway and Forestry Museum. I don't know how you find time to sleep, let alone write stories and songs, Kym. In addition, Kym's provided grounding ceremonies and traditional land acknowledgements at many national virtual gatherings during the past 2 years, because of course everything has been virtual. She is an incredible storyteller who weaves cultural teachings into her music as well as her stories. And she has shown this through some of the interactive music videos that she's created in partnership with School District 57, which of course is the Prince George School District that help preserve Lheidli T'enneh history, culture, and Akath language. So I would like to invite Kym to tell us a story, perhaps sing us a song from appearances that I'm seeing.
Masicho. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think I'm the only one that didn't say, please don't read my bio, I will introduce myself, but that's okay. It's hard to hear somebody read your bio because it makes you feel a little bit shy. At least it makes me feel a little bit shy. And yeah, it's a lot, especially when you hear somebody else say it. But somehow we just manage to do all of these things. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, it's all about scheduling and showing up to the different places and different circles where you feel like you are being valued and that your work is making a difference. And that's how I guide. That's my guide. So thank you. Right from Richard, I have never laughed that much in, I don't even know the last time. I literally had, you know, that feeling in the back of your jaws when you're laughing too much and you have to rub them because it's like, it was like insane. So yeah, big thanks to Richard. I will never look at potato chips the same way. I might not even eat them ever again. Yeah, and big love to Rhonda. Rhonda and I are such good friends and sisters, I would even say. And I've never been able to experience you in this light and in this way, and it was so beautiful. And to see that vulnerability, but yet the strength that you have. And to know that you're digging deep into your stories and into feeling safe and to be able to share in this space, that was really powerful. And Marcel, my friend, my elder, I've known since I was a child, and it's really powerful to hear you. I loved that you turned off your camera also because I was able to focus on your words. You have such a great storytelling voice. I love listening to your stories and your music, and I think you're definitely a treasure here in our territory. And I just want to say Tabe Snachalia. And I'm gonna share a song. I'm here at home on the south side of Lheidli T'enneh. I'm flanked by the railroad tracks and the Fraser River. I'm almost right in the middle of the two. When the train goes by, actually rattles the house, but you get used to it. I've grown up around the train my whole life, actually. We used to play on them as a kid. We used to run on them, and it felt like we would jump from car to car, and it felt like you were moving because of out of your peripheral, how the ground was moving. It felt like the train was actually moving. It was quite a great sensation. And then we would pull the brakes. That we found these little handles underneath the train, and when we'd pull on them, and we'd have bets on whether or not they were going to release the air or not. Some of them would be duds, and some of them would release this really loud gushing air, because I guess the brakes were, I don't even know how that works, but yeah, it was a fascinating time putting money on the tracks and going and finding them all squished down. Actually, I've done that with my grandkids recently. Felt a little bit bad because it's like defacing the queen, they say. But anyways, and pennies, they're not really worth anything nowadays. So yeah, all the grandkids were out there and we were putting pennies all over the tracks by our house. Good times. I'm going to tell a story today and I'm going to follow it up with a song. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to remember the song because of just the no touring for so long, I haven't been really playing guitar much. I picked up ukulele, so now I'm better at the ukulele than I am at my own guitar playing. But I want to share a story that is really relevant to this day, and it's a story about my late niece whose birthday happens to be today. And she would have been 32 years old today, and she died at the age of 23. And she was this beautiful, vibrant spirit that had a very broken heart and a broken spirit. Even though it was beautiful, it was broken. And because of things that happened to her in her childhood that she couldn't shake, and she turned to drugs and alcohol to numb the pain and to escape. And unfortunately, that was what ended her life, was an excessive amount of both of those substances. And it was on a May long weekend in 2013. And yeah, it shook my whole life. It actually woke me up because, like my bio says, of all the different things that I'm involved in, I've been that way my whole life. Like I always have. I love to serve my community. I love to go where I feel that I'm needed. And at that time, I was the youth worker for the Penticton Indian Band. I worked as their youth intervention worker, and Brittany would often come to the programs. I was managing a canoe family as well as a traditional drum group and a youth leadership group. It was intense because I was also raising my own children who were just, well, my youngest one was a teenager at the time. So it was pretty intense time in my life. And so when my niece died, it really shook my world, and it knocked my legs right out from under me. And it made me focus on what was important. It made me take a step back and look at what was really important in my life and where I was investing my energy. And of course, when somebody passes away in your life, you look internally and you question, what could I have done differently? What could I have done that could have possibly saved her? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And all of these things. She was like my daughter. She called me her auntie mama. And she fit right in with my 4 kids. Her and my second oldest daughter are the same age. They're only about a month apart. And so it really shook my world, and it woke me up. And songs started to flow out of me, because I believe that as an artist, as a creator, it takes often, for that creative energy to flow, it often takes tragedy, it takes heartbreak, it takes something that really rattles that inside of you and breaks down all of these inhibitors and walls that often keep us stuck behind our egos. Our egos are right here. Well, you know, you second guess what you're writing. You want people to like it. You think, you know, oh, well, I need to write it this certain way so that so-and-so will think it's good. Like, this is a part of my thought process. I'm not sure about all of you. And so at this time in my life, my ego was completely completely gone. I was absolutely humble and in humility and on my knees and crying and crying and crying. And I ended up leaving my job as the youth worker because I just couldn't function. I ended up being evicted from my carriage house that overlooked the city of Penticton, which was my absolute sanctuary and haven, because of no fault of my own. It was the renters' issue that they were having. So I was evicted from my house, left my job, broke up with my boyfriend, and then the vehicle that I just had paid off, the motor blew. So I was just like this absolutely humble person that just, when you get to that point, you're just like, you're wide open. You're just raw. And that's when music started to flow out of me. And I was able to apply for a grant from the First Peoples Culture Council. It was Emerging Artist Award. And I used that grant to record music. So the inspiration was, yes, the passing of my niece, whose birthday it happens to be today. And it was just a really pivotal point in my life, and it's really what launched my music career, because I started to focus then on music and what it was that it truly has been my outlet and my healing and my connection to other people who can relate to my stories. And so I write songs about grief and loss. I write songs about residential school. I write songs about murdered and missing Indigenous women, girls, and LGBTQ community. I write songs about domestic violence, about environment, injustices in the environment. So that's become my journey. And it wasn't until my niece crossed over to the other side that I realized, and I woke up. I literally woke up and I was like, okay, I'm listening. I ended up living, because I was homeless, I ended up living in her bedroom. And if that doesn't throw you straight into grieving, I don't know what does. Because everything about that bedroom was her. And a lot of her her possessions were still in the room. I'll never forget the color of the walls. I don't know why she chose that color. It was like a lime green, like a Billie Eilish green. And inside of her closet was like, she would probably maybe tuck away in there sometimes, and she had all these little writings in her closet. And just the smell of her perfume, everything about her, the window that she always climbed in and out of, that I knew she climbed in and out of, was right next to my head, like the bed that she slept on. Anyways, it was a really powerful way to grieve, and the fact that I was writing music at that time, it just started to flow out of me. And the one thing, there's 2 songs that came out of that, but I'm trying to choose one as I'm telling you the story. And I think the one I'm going to choose is how the community carried me, and how the youth, because I was the youth worker, and because the youth that I worked with, it took me years to earn their trust. I had one of them come and sit me down, say, let's go for coffee, we need to talk. And I'm like, okay. And she was like, you're not cut out for this job. I hope you know that. You're not going to make it. You're not going to last very long. And she was coming from a canoe background. Like, I didn't like water. I was scared of water. I think it's a respect thing more than a fear thing. I've never really been in a canoe. And here's this 14-passenger Langley canoe, like 30 feet long on the trailer, which I had to then learn how to drive the van full of the youth, plus haul the trailer, plus back it up and put it in. You know, like she was just looking at all of these obstacles that she figured I was going to quit with. But I love a challenge, and I especially will I've learned that about myself, that if somebody says, you know, oh, you can't do that, you'll never be able to do that, it's like then I feel like I really have to prove myself. And I did, and I lasted for almost 5 years until Brittany's passing, and I became a darn good at the bow. I could like paddle like crazy and keep the tempo in the front of that canoe. I became very excellent at driving a big bus full of kids with this big canoe in tow and backing it up into the water and driving it through Vancouver and parking it and all of these things. So it was like winning over these youth's trust. All these young people began to love me and accept me and became my family. And Brittany was a big part of that, because everybody knew her prior to me being their youth worker. And this was 7 years ago now that I was their youth worker, because I've been in Prince George for 7 years. And so they carried me. They were like my mountain. When you talk about a mountain, Marcel, these youth were my mountain. They were my strength, and they held me, and they still hold me. I still hear from them. And in Penticton, Brittany's ashes are in Okanagan Lake, and we did a canoe journey out there with a search and rescue crew, so they have the coordinates. We know where the ashes were released into the lake, and also up at the Penticton sign. If you've ever been to Penticton, you see the big white rocks that spell out the words. We did ceremony up there. And she has a bench over there too. And this bench has her name, and it says, what does it say? I love you to the moon and back, because that was her saying. So this is a song that came out of that. Really, really difficult time. But we heal through music, right? We heal through telling our stories, because every time we tell our stories, we heal. That's the power of storytelling. That's the power of writing. It's the power of singing. It's the power of even dance and movement, because we hold all of this in our bodies. This is Mountain of Youth. You shine like the moon and the stars, like fireflies in the dark. Your friends remind me of you, each hold a piece of your heart. Birds fly so high in the sky, wondering if they're flying to you, wondering if they're flying to you. I'll be alright by the morning light. Your love is gonna see me through. I'll be alright by the morning light. Your love is like a mountain of youth. I hear you in the wind and the rain. Your sweet songs take away the pain. Weeping willows whisper your name again and again and again. Wolves run, they run through the clouds, trying to get this message to you, trying to get this message to you. I'll be alright by the morning light. Love is gonna see me through. I'll be alright by the morning light. Love is like a mountain. mountain of youth. Love is like a mountain of youth. Love is like a mountain of youth. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for allowing me this space to share and hold space for Brittany. And I just want to really express how much love I have for the young people in our world, the young people that are faced with the future of this planet, and how collectively we can turn this around. So I have faith, I have hope, and so much love. Just know, anybody that's out here listening, just know that you are loved, and that you matter, and that you're important, and that one day somebody might write a song about you. I hope someone writes a song about me someday. Hey, Marcel? One of these days. So, Masicho, what's that?
Thank you so much, Kym. That was very, very powerful. You really spoke to the transformative power of stories and music, songs, which can be stories too, and also how they bear witness, which is part of their transformation. And I found that very, very moving. So I think we still do have, 15 minutes for a question and answer, or a little bit of discussion. If anybody would like to, you can put questions into the chat box, or if you would like to speak, I believe you can just say something in the chat box. I'm not sure if you can put your hand up or not. You can try that too. And then one of the powers that be in the background, the mystery gnomes in the virtual verse, can make sure that you're unmuted. I do have a question for you, Kym, actually. I noticed your scarf today, and I wondered if you could speak a little bit about that.
Yes, that's a really great question. This is something that is especially come into the light recently, and that is the relationship that the Ukrainian people have had established with the Cree people, and the trade that took place, because this is also known as a babushka, and it's also known as a kukum scarf. And you'll see like the beautiful colors and the flowers and the patterns that are often worn on the head. I'll try and give you a little example of why it's called a babushka, and it's the elders in the Ukrainian community and also within indigenous community that wear these, and it's really a symbol of, I believe, like even my grandmother, my blind grandmother, used to wear one of these. She wore a black one, and it's like a really powerful connection between us and our Ukrainian friends, and I wear mine to honor them and to honor the Ukraine, to honor the relationship that we build between our communities and our nations. So thank you so much for asking.
Yeah, I thought that was what it was, and I think that's just really lovely. Does anybody else wish to say something? Well, I think the stories and all of you, the stories and what you've expressed really speak for themselves. The story for the story's sake. This panel was called Here Are Words, the Diversity of Storytelling. And one thing that really struck me is how differently each one of you told your stories, and yet how united they are in a kind of common experience of our humanity. So while each is unique and different, they are also together and share that, which I also think is really powerful, just as that scarf is as a symbol of keeping our differences and our commonalities working together. And I want to thank everybody who's here today for coming to this event. And remember that this is recorded. I'm not sure where that will be accessible, but Marianne will probably let us know. And I encourage all of you to check out the remaining events in the festival sampler. There are events running through Saturday, and they're posted on the Facebook page for Weaving Words, and through the website, weavingwords.org. And again, I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your day to be here and give so much of yourselves to all of us.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Bianca, for hosting. You've been marvelous. And thank you, Marianne. Thank you to the whole committee of the Weaving Words, because there's a lot of people that have made this happen. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there are. All right. Well, I suppose we have 10 minutes left, but we are pretty much finished. Well, we can all turn our mics on and chat for a few minutes.
I just wanted to say, Miigwech, thank you for the opportunity to share and talk about my journey to journalism and storytelling and communicating. And it's been a fun and beautiful journey, and I'm slowly making peace with how I got here and the hard work that it took to get here. So from coast to coast and so many different universities, and to just to be able to travel all that way and learn different things from different people. I've been very grateful for that journey. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, and I'm looking forward to maybe doing a PhD or law school. I don't know yet. I applied for a PhD last year, but only got into the waiting list and didn't hear back. But it is part of the journey. So, and I want to get all the pieces of paper. When I was in college, somebody said to me, like, you're going to steal all the horses. And I was like, darn right I am. Darn right I am. So, Miigwech.
I just want to say thanks, everybody. It was a blast. Nice to see you all again. Take care and be safe out there. Please be safe.
Okay. Well, thank you all. And I guess that's a wrap. Am I correct, Marianne?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I can sing us out.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Ukulele or hand drum?
That's a really hard. That's like picking between, your firstborn and secondborn child. You're so beautiful.
I just heard a request for hand drums. So.
Oh, there you go.
All right. This drum was made by my dear friend Norman Retaskett, residential school survivor from Kamloops. And this song is a song that is to help give us strength whenever we're struggling, when we're faced with a challenge and we feel like we just don't have anything left in us to give. We sit up straight and we say, I will, I can, and I am. Ustle si, ustle, banyan ustan siasto. I will, I can, I'm going to show you that I am. Hiya, ho, hiya, ho, hiya, ho, hiya, ho, hey, 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 hiya, hiya. I will, I can, I'll show you I am. Hey, 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 hiya, hiya, usleitzi, usle banyan ustan siasto. Hey, 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 hiya, 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 ho, hiya, ho, hiya, ho, hiya, ho, hey, 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 hiya, 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 hiya. Whee! What's that?